All right, everybody. The entire Trump administration is currently in frantic cover-up mode, only 24 hours after a swift resignation from our counterterrorism director has everybody shaken. J.D. Vance was on stage hours ago, melting down, attacking the press. Caroline Leavitt was stuttering on the White House front lawn and then went on Fox News to lie and stutter even further. And after all of that, Tulsi Gabbard, our current director of national intelligence, just collapsed during a cross-examination from Senator John Ossoff of Georgia. All of this happened today because this administration is rapidly losing their bearings after starting a war that they cannot keep up with. Netanyahu very clearly drug us into this war, and in fact, that is exactly what Joe Kent said yesterday when he resigned. Let's just start from the catalyst that's starting this current meltdown in the administration. As always, make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed if you appreciate the work that we do. We are getting closer and closer to 2 million subscribers. Let's blast through that. I love you all. And okay, let's jump in. Joe Kent. This dude is actually kind of a right-wing loon. He's kind of a right-wing freak, but he did just resign from a position where he had access to a lot of unique intelligence. And he said, quote, "After much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as Director of National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby." We have been saying that on this show day in and day out, that Israel very clearly drugged Donald Trump into this war. Not because I'm making that up, not because it's a conspiracy theory, but because Marco Rubio is the one that said it out loud on accident, then tried to walk it back. Because Netanyahu has been trying to convince American leaders to go to war with Iran, and Trump is the only one dumb enough to do it. And because the reporting shows that Netanyahu is the one who's been sort of controlling this, leading the way. And apparently he's the one who killed the 5 replacements of the original supreme leader because he wanted to lengthen this. He wanted to drag this out for the United States. So just to contextualize this, oil prices are currently surging. Gas prices are skyrocketing. The price of everything is skyrocketing due to that. And the entire Trump administration is having trouble keeping their bearings. I mean, we just got news moments ago. Breaking. The U.S. is accumulating forces for a weeks-long operation to take control of the Strait of Hormuz, according to Israeli assessments. So now we are now putting more assets, more ships, more fleets, more naval vessels on the line for a war that Trump and Netanyahu started unilaterally. All right, let's jump in with Caroline Leavitt getting asked why Joe Kent was appointed if Trump called him weak on security. It makes no sense to call someone weak on security that you appointed.
Sorry, the president said yesterday that he always thought Kent was weak on security. Why would he name someone to run the counterterrorism center who he thought was weak on security?
Again, I just told you, the president gave Joe Kent a chance. He thought he was a good guy with good military experience, and unfortunately, he proved he was not up for the job. And we don't want somebody leading the counterterrorism task force who cannot agree that the #1 state sponsor of terror in this world did not pose a threat to the United States. That's what another falsehood he said in his letter of resignation, which is just unequivocally false.
He said they did not pose an imminent threat to the United States. It may seem dumb, but there is a very big difference between saying Iran poses an imminent threat to the United States, so we must attack, versus saying that the ideology of the radical Iranian regime is a threat to the Western pro-democracy ideology that Trump doesn't even support anyways.
It's backed by intelligence. It's backed by the fact that Iran was building ballistic missiles at a rapid rate to build a shield of immunity so they could build a nuclear bomb. And it's backed by the fact that the president of the United States made the decision to attack Iran before they could attack American troops and our assets and bases in the region.
Okay, this is something that Trump has done time and time again. I mean, with Jeff Sessions, the attorney general from his first term, he initially said he was great and backed him fully, then later said he was weak. With Rex Tillerson, who was a Secretary of State, he first said he was world class, a star, then later on said he was lazy and dumb as a rock. Then John Kelly, his chief of staff. At first it was great job, he's a star, and later, in way over his head. We have John Bolton, NSA. First it was very good job, later saying he begged for a role and would cause World War VI, whatever that means. We have Scaramucci. He first said he has great respect for him. Less than 2 weeks later, he was saying he's a nut job. I mean, he does this time and time again, where he appoints people, realizes these people are incompetent and awful, and then is bitten by that own mistake. All right, moments after Caroline Leavitt walked off the White House front lawn, she turns to a Fox News interview. In this Fox News interview, she's asked, when's the last time Trump saw Joe Kent? I mean, this is a big deal right here. Trump is saying that he's always thought this person was weak on security. Okay, so that means 24 hours ago. That means 48 hours ago, basically. And for the past year and a half, we've had somebody who is that weak on national security. Our counter-terrorism intelligence officer has been weak, in your opinion? What?
Caroline, there was news yesterday when Joe Kent, who works for Tulsi Gabbard over at the DNI, a political appointee, said he could no longer stay in his job. He was resigning over the Iran war. So he had objections. When is the last time he saw President Trump?
It's been a while. It's been a while since the president has seen him here at the White House. It's been a while since he's been involved.
Okay, that's scary to me. It's been a while since our own president has even spoken to or briefed the people over at the Director of National Intelligence's office, the counterterrorism director. I mean, the director of counterterrorism you'd think would be pretty important when we're going to war with a regime that Trump alleges commits a lot of terrorism against the United States, which does.
In the process of the presidential daily briefs, and he's been actually present for the president's intelligence briefings. This was an individual who was not involved in any of the discussions pre-operation and throughout this operation. I think the president views it as deeply unfortunate that this individual, who the president gave the privilege of working for the administration, put out this resignation on government letterhead with many falsehoods throughout. Essentially,
Bro, no. Did Caroline Leavitt just try to say? Did she just try to invoke lying on a government letterhead like that's something that the Trump administration doesn't already do?
accusing the president of being manipulated by foreign governments. That's laughable and it's insulting. President Trump has been remarkably consistent on this issue of Iran for many, many years.
He's also been remarkably consistent that other countries pay the tariffs. That doesn't mean that he's right. He's also been remarkably consistent that windmills cause cancer. Doesn't mean he's right. He's been remarkably consistent that women will let you do it. That's not right. Just because Donald Trump has said or believed something for 40 years does not mean that it's right. In fact, if he's believed something his entire adult life, it's more than likely it's wrong. You know, Trump believes that the body is like a light bulb. It's only got a finite amount of energy that slowly depletes. He's got this weird thesis on the way that health works, and he's just wrong. He's entirely wrong. What about this? Yesterday, Caroline Leavitt responded to Joe Kent's letter with this entire novel. The novel ends in America First, but let's just read a little bit of it. It says, there are many false claims in this letter, but let me address one specifically, that, quote, Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. This is the same false claim that Democrats and some in the liberal media have been repeating over and over. As President Trump has stated clearly, he had strong and compelling evidence that Iran was going to attack the United States first. Quite literally, one day before, Caroline Leavitt said, this post and story should be immediately retracted. They wrote this based on one email. To be clear, no such threat from Iran to our homeland exists, and it never did. It was in response to an ABC article detailing an Iranian threat of a drone or some sort of missile or whatever. So she in one breath will say, there was an imminent threat to the United States, and Joe Kent is lying. Then, the day before, she said there was no imminent threat to the United States. Make it make sense, Caroline Leavitt. One more clip of her, and then we'll go over to J.D. Vance and his meltdown on stage moments ago.
On a truth that was sent out earlier today, 7:22 a.m. Eastern Time. I wonder what would happen if we, quote, finished off what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, we don't, be responsible for the so-called strait. That would get some of our non-responsive allies in gear and fast, President DJT. Has there been any movement overnight on behalf of our allies that has softened their position about going through the Strait of Hormuz?
Not overnight, but the president and his team, especially Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio, continue to be in touch with their counterparts in Europe and, of course, our allies in the Arab and Gulf region to step up and do more to help the United States in securing the Strait of Hormuz. This is to their benefit, more so than it is to the benefit of the United States. Thanks to President Trump, we are a net exporter of energy. We don't need the Strait of Hormuz for our energy here at home.
Okay, pause. Yes, we do. Yes, we do need the Strait of Hormuz. We have already seen a direct spike. If what Caroline Leavitt just said were true, and we didn't need the Strait of Hormuz for energy at home, we wouldn't have seen an 80-cent spike. 80-cent spike in, well, at least my home state of Indiana that I drove through like last weekend. I don't know what it is now. In Illinois, I believe we've seen a 70-cent spike. Let me know what it is where you guys are. But if we didn't need the Strait of Hormuz, then it wouldn't be such